Nearly there. Computer's slow. Right. Okay. Right. So I thought I'll wait till after Lisa's finished. So I looked online to see if she was speaking, and I was like, oh, she's not speaking tonight. So I thought, okay, I'll do it now. And I realized it's not actually Wednesday, it's Tuesday. So why is that not happening there? Obviously someone can see me. Hi David, obviously you can see me, so yeah, because you know, I have to say, since the change, time has become tricky. I barely scrape by. Oh, thanks, Ramona. I barely. Sunday comes around, I'm like, oh my god, it's Sunday. Yeah, so it's Tuesday. But anyway, these kind of midweek ones I'm going to do spontaneously for now because I can't really set something at the moment. Maybe if I start getting into it, I'll be able to be a little bit more organized. So thank you for joining me, even though I didn't publicize it. It's really nice that, you know, the notification comes up. And yeah, let's see. Let's see. Hi, Asbjorn. I think I said that right. Just make this a bit bigger. There we are. This is the greatest subject because it's not knowledge. It's not something you can remember. I mean, sure, some people have the right words, but that's kind of meaningless because it's not about words. It's not about anything that I say, even though what I say kind of points to the illusion of the apparent separate self that's looking for something else. That's what it does. Can go on like that, you know, I mean, it's looking for an end to it all. Where I can finally rest. I can finally have this thing called freedom. And if the me could only see what that is, which it can never, because there's only the freedom without it, but not freedom personally. There's no personal freedom here. If that sense of me could only see what that's like, it would run screaming. And I think that's why a lot of people really struggle at first, because the me wants to run screaming from it. Or there's a kind of a moment or several moments or even days. I mean, people who have like no sense of self for days, and the me comes back and it wants it back. Because when it's not there, it's really simple. It's really, really simple. really obvious. There's no longer anything to run for or run towards. There isn't anybody to do that. Because this one we call me is not me. It's not a me. There is no person. It appears like there is, and it calls itself me, and it says, I feel like I'm here. I am here. I am here, it says. I am sure of it. But it's not true, because it's not always there for a start, and it can fall away. Or it falls away in physical death. So I hear. I don't know. I don't know anything about physical death. I've seen dead bodies, lots of dead bodies. But I didn't see death in those bodies. Hi, Claudia. So when I saw those dead bodies, there was no death in those bodies. Nothing had died. And that was before there was the change. It's very recognizable when you see a dead body, either animal or human or whatever. It's very clear that there was never, nobody died. Nobody died. Obviously, if you're very attached to that human or that animal, it can be a great pain because they're no longer in your life. That can cause a lot of suffering, with a me or without a me, because that's the human, you see. You know, the animals, they cry for their children. It's like I had a little sparrow. I've had two little sparrows, and they fall into my courtyard because they live up in the little holes in the cliff, and they sometimes fall into my courtyard. And rather than me going to rescue them, I just wait for the parents, and I can hear the parents chirping and chirping and chirping and chirping until they eventually find the chick. You see, having no sense of self is not the end of anything. It's just no longer appearing like that. There's no end. There's no end to this appearance. It can appear as anything. Even a sense of separation, which is still it appearing as a sense of separation. And the separate one thinks that freedom is going to look a certain way. And it doesn't look like anything. It's just sitting in a chair talking. Which is, nothing can get hold of that. You can mentally think, yeah, I'm sitting in a chair talking, so what? But you see, the thought appearing in that as well is that. It's just so all-inclusive all the time. So imagine freedom to have a feeling, doesn't have a feeling. There's no freedom feeling. There's no freedom state. There is only freedom. You know, when the self puts the body at the center of everything, and when that center is no longer there, it's just a body that operates. I seem to kind of, you know, if I think back over the day, there seems to be more, it feels like more like, because I've been working on my computer all day and trying to desperately make some money doing Redbubble, and all that was most of the day was just Redbubble. There was no self in Redbubble. There was only Redbubble, the computer program. I got an online portal, and the program I was using, Illustrator. That's all there was. That's all that was happening. There was no body at the center of it. And you can actually kind of experience that when you're doing something where there's no time to acknowledge that I'm doing it. Like when people do, you know, dangerous sports, or even things like, or any kind of sport actually, or art, or performing. Can't have a self when you're performing, because it'll just get in the way. Just performing is just happens. A self only seems to pop up when there's, when it does. So in the end, not that there is an end. Please see through my words. Don't want to be non-dual correct. But in the end, you're not left with anything. Anything at all. You're not left with time, a person, a life. Life happens for sure. Time appears to happen, but it's not happening in time, it just appears to happen. So you're not left with anything. But there is, what is left is everything. But nothing that's left is anything for somebody. It's totally impersonal. And even though the character or the human can be personal about things, yeah, you know, I'm kind of like a bit done with all this non-dual correctness. I try to like make the words as accurate as possible, because I think it does kind of just bring it a little bit. Generally speaking, it's just kind of a bit ridiculous, isn't it? So you're not left with anything. All that life that was happening for somebody just completely drops away, and with it drops all kinds of things. I was talking with a friend last night, and I was talking about how other people think that I see their me. First of all, I don't see anything. There's nobody seeing anything. Secondly, there's no me. There's just one human looking at another human and responding. It's just response happening. And that's all that's happening anyway. But there is sometimes, you know, often there is, well, usually there is that sense of it's happening to me, I'm responding. But it's not true, because when that sense of self goes, you'll see that there's only just the response always happening. I mean, lots of crappy things do drop away. Neuroses drop away. You know? But if there's a condition there, like PTSD, for instance, you know, that's a condition, which is a brain chemistry thing because of shock or what, you know, all the different reasons. That could still remain, but it's not remaining for anymore, so it's no problem. There's no suffering in it, even though it's probably very uncomfortable, but it's not personally suffered anymore. Which is great. And there's no happiness. Happiness, isn't there? Yeah, I'm quite cheery, but then again, this character is pretty cheery. So she's a pretty cheery character anyway, when she is. Otherwise, I'm just kind of morosely sitting in front of my computer working, trying to work anyway. But the character that's left is just the character that's left. And your character just kind of shines through in a way. It no longer got that filter of a me there. It just shines through, unhindered. There's no behavior, there's no me behavior there anymore. All that drops away. But what's left in the character can just still carry on as normal. So if you're passionate about something, that'll still be there, more than likely. This is not about the getting of something. This is about the absence of a condition called separation. Because that's all it is. It's a condition appearing in free fall. All its stories about going somewhere and getting somewhere, finding something. That is an effect of the condition called separation. Anyway, please feel free to ask questions. I'm only here for an hour, and I've already been going on for over 20 minutes. Yeah, non-dual correctness. The irony is there is no non-duality. It's nothing. It's not anything. It's a title of a book. It's a title of a kind of a roundabout area in which people seem to talk about. But there isn't non-duality. There isn't anything. There isn't anything that could be pinned down, or certainly not put a name to it. Freedom from all that. Freedom from non-duality. Can become a religion. A non-dualist. I'm a non-dualist, and I practice non-dualism. And I've seen a few that have turned into that and label it under the word non-duality. Not that anything but matters. It doesn't matter. But it's not anything. Hey, Ramona. So the suffering, even for someone with post-traumatic stress syndrome, isn't theirs really. Yeah, that's right. It's not theirs. There's nothing that belongs to anyone because there isn't anyone. This is the thing. This suffering might feel uncomfortable, but when not taken personally, it ain't suffering anymore. It's not suffering in the way the sense of self calls it suffering. It's discomfort. It's discomfort. But it's not personal. It's not, there's no why is this happening to me? There's no story around it. There's no, I mean, they may be going to look for a cure, because if you're sick, normally we look for a cure, because that's the way we are, unless we don't, for some reason. So people with PTSD might practice a few sort of those techniques that helps relieve it. But it's not personal. There's not that personal suffering. Why me? This happened to me because of my story and my poor story, and all that stuff is just not there. There's just the immediacy of the effects of PTSD. Like any illness, because it is an illness, like any illness, like if you have arthritis, having no sense of self is not going to get rid of the arthritis. It's the same. It's the same. Or if you've got clinical depression, it's not necessarily going to go away, though it may, depending. Just the conditioning of the body. Yes, yes, yes. There's a trauma that's happened, and it's changed the chemistry, or whatever it is. I don't really know much about it. I'm just saying it because I had a neighbor who had it really badly. Yeah. Yeah, it's just something that happens to the human. You know, things happen to humans. They get shocked, they get ill, they have losses, you know. I've known people who are not people, who has loss in their life, and the grief lasted ages, but it was just grief. There was no personal story about it. Why did they have to go? What's wrong with me that they had to go? All that is not there, and that's a different kind of suffering. The self-suffering is a unique kind of suffering because it's based in time and it's based about being good enough and getting better and being there. I'm not there yet. I'm not good enough. The sense of self as basic sense is I am not good enough. There is something wrong. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with the sense of self, because that's the way life presents life. It presents itself as a sense of self. And none of it's personal. It presents life appears as things appearing to be personal, but in that reality, this reality, none of it is personal. Though the character carries on in a personal manner, but it's not personal. No difference between the character carrying on and what it does than dogs barking outside, which happens a lot here in Spain. Character doing dogs barking, had some cockroaches last night, oh my God. Cockroaches happening. The conditioning in this body is to leap a mile in the air if a cockroach comes out. Yeah, and that's a conditioning just happens. You know, maybe the character might choose to maybe work with that so it doesn't jump a mile in the air, but it just doesn't matter. It's just a conditioning. Creepy crawlies, some, not all of them. Or big spiders. This character just does not enjoy big spiders. It's just a conditioning because the reaction is there. Before, like, if the reaction was there and there was somebody here, it would be there before the somebody, but the somebody afterward would be like, why am I scared of spiders? I'm ashamed of being scared of spiders. I have a phobia, I need to get over it so then I can feel better about myself. Claudia, reoccurring feelings, patterns which stem perhaps from trauma and conditioning are imprinted on the cells in the body. I wonder whether allowing and accepting those feelings helps. I tend to suppress. I guess it would help personally. Them rather than feeling them. Right, okay. Yeah, well, it would help personally. It doesn't help the me disappear. But accepting them, because you can't, because they just are there. They just are there. They're just happening. I mean, here, I do think it's better to feel feelings and suppress them, just on a kind of a personal level. It's impossible to suppress feelings here now, really. I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna laugh, I'm gonna laugh. Yeah, I don't do this sort of therapy. I'm no good at any kind of therapeutical stuff, really at all. But I guess of accepting them, or just feeling them, actually, because they are there, And the me just pushes them down, because it doesn't want to feel bad. But you see, the thing is, this me feeling bad is a total illusion. There's nobody feeling bad. Actually, yeah. There's nobody feeling bad. It's an appearance of feeling bad. There's an echo in the room. I think it's my guitar. You can hear it whining in the background. Hi, Wah. Luckily, animals don't have me's. The animals will become quite brutal. Yeah, they'd have political systems and be like Animal Farm. 2 legs bad, 4 legs good. Yeah, the animals are so innocent, even when they're ripping each other apart with their teeth. The absolute innocence in that. Though at the same time, it's all in its essence. In its essence, it is all innocent. Innocence is something we assign to things, but that's because we're humans and that's what we do. But in essence, everything is innocent. It's born into this constantly, without moving, born into it innocently. Every action, every color, every sound is in essence innocent. Every feeling, every thought this is an analogy, don't take it this seriously, is born out of innocence, is born out of nothing and is nothing simultaneously. Even the human reaction of horror towards another thing, brutality or something, that is born out of it's pure, born out of innocence. We say the baby when it's born is innocent, but in reality everything is born, constantly born out of that innocence also. Mona, the sense of self equals what causes the suffering. But what struck me is that I somehow also turned it around. The suffering creates a sense of self, as if trauma and freedom can't go together, but it can. Just do that in bits. Sense of self equals what causes the suffering. Yeah, what causes separation is, I don't know. That could be a suffering. I do kind of remember the first time I remember being a me. I'm not sure if that was the first time, but I have the memory of the first time I remembered it. And I remember it because I was just innocently mucking about, and somebody was visiting the house. It was very little, and they were laughing at me, I think maybe I was in my nappy or something like that. And they were like, and I remember like that kind of sense of just crawling around or whatever I was doing innocently turned into a sense of being looked at and being looked at. It's a very strong memory. I remember it very clearly. So, but I don't know, I mean, really, that's just a story anyway. That's just a story. That's the way this life apparently happened. No rhyme or reason for anything. In the end, Ramona, there's no rhyme or reason for anything. The story in the end is utterly irrelevant. We can try to work it out, but it's just still a story. Even if we work out the story, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't reveal anything, because a story is a story. And it's always appearing in this, because there isn't anything else. There never was a Lisa. There never was a Lisa who was running around in a nappy. Well, there was and there wasn't. But it's not the reality. It's not the reality. Yeah. She says I was working out the story again. Ah, thanks. Yeah, because it's so easy to get locked into that, isn't it? We get so locked into it because it's a nice kind of cozy place to be, isn't it, in a story. Hot. It's a nice cozy place to be. Then we can like busy ourselves working out the story and why it happened and why it is, why it's there, why it goes away. There's no why to anything, only as a story. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that because that's how we entertain ourselves all the time. I mean, I love really good movies and really good books. They're stories, they're entertainment. And in a way, when we try to discover the meaning in a story, in a sense, the sense of separation is just entertaining itself, distracting itself, really thinking there's something in that. But there isn't. It's just appearing as a story. It's freedom appearing as a story. But there's no ultimate truth in any story, because there is no ultimate truth. There's no ultimate anything. It's beyond anything that can be pinned down as a philosophy or a teaching. Certainly no teaching here. What would I teach? That would be another story. Nothing wrong with being a teacher. There are many, many teachers. I listen to teachers. I listen to teachers about some of the computer graphics I do and all that. You can't teach how to sit on a chair and listen to a talk. You can't teach that. You don't even have to look for it. Because looking for it is the same as sitting on a chair listening to a talk. You don't have to look for that either. It's just obvious. It's so obvious. Right there, right here. I think I may have a couple of talks in Brighton in the autumn and winter, but I'll keep you posted. Maybe one, hopefully two. I'm going to try and push for 2 weekends. Bit ambitious, maybe. But if anybody would be interested in arranging not a retreat, it's not a retreat. I don't do retreats. What's the word for retreat when it's not a retreat? Ramona, how to sit on a chair feeling your bum, lesson 1. Well, you're doing pretty good. You don't even know, it's not even a how, it's just happening. Yeah. A residential. Even though I'm thinking of doing a residential where you don't reside with me, but you get your own Airbnb. I just hire a room and come and talk and have lunch with everybody and stuff. So maybe next year, whoever wanted to do that, and they really felt they could do it, you can come for free and you can stay at my house. There we go. That's a good offer, isn't it? Yeah. So at the moment, this character is just a bit of a hermit, really. Hi, Maddie. Oh, thanks. Thanks for joining. David, do you think we hold on to memories because we fear not being relevant? We are not. Sorry, I'll read that again. Do you think we hold on to memories because we fear not being relevant or meaningless? I think it's more the sense of self. Yeah, possibly that would be a me thing. Trying to feel like I am relevant, I have meaning, my life has meaning, it's going somewhere and it's going towards meaning, or it's had meaning. So possibly, yes. The sense of self lives in meaning, tries to find the meaning in everything for itself and for its completion, normally, especially in these kind of talks. The me energy is really weird, isn't it? What a weird energy. All the stuff it does for no reason, for no outcome. Just for a last gasp on the deathbed. All came to nothing in the end. All came to nothing. Bit extreme, I know, but it's true. That's the thing, that's the painful thing with the sense of self. That's why it feels, sometimes when it's going, it's excruciating, because all the meaningfulness is being lost. Personal meaningfulness. It's being destroyed. That's why some people say it's like a death. It's not really, because nobody dies. It's not really a death. It's no death. I can't find death. Lisa didn't die. But whilst the appearance of Lisa was there and it was falling away and all the meaning was being lost and everything was just being lost, that can be pretty excruciating. Hard to let go of. Yeah, impossible. It gets stripped away. It just gets stripped away. And there's nothing that can be done about it. And it can be pretty painful. More or less. More for some, less for others. Some people really breeze through it. Here it was kind of middle ground. It was grief here. But that was just the sense of self grieving. It was just kind of nonsense, really. There was nobody grieving. It was just a big parade of the me. The circus show. Wow, maybe we have hid death too much. It's everywhere in nature, so now it seems like something unnatural. Yeah, story-wise, yeah. It's totally hidden, isn't it? When do you ever see a dead body? Hardly ever. I was in India years ago, decades ago, actually, and there was a lot of dead bodies around then because they don't have the infrastructure there then than they do now. Like I was there a few years ago, and I was just like, oh, they really cleaned up here. There's dead bodies everywhere. I also spent quite a while sitting at the funeral pyres, watching body after body after body being burned. Just don't get that here. Yeah, not used to it. Like I'm not used to it now. Like if I see a dead rat on the road, I'm like, ooh. But that's a natural response because it's like death is disease. The dead body is disease. But yeah, we've hidden it. Yeah. But there we go. Because the me fears death because it thinks it's alive. Because it really senses or feels or believes it's alive. It really thinks there is death. Death cannot be found. I think it was a poem I wrote in my book. I'm not a poet, by the way. My poems aren't very good. But one was called Death Cannot Be Found. So if you look at a dead insect, a dead flower, or a dead person, you can't find death. All there is life appearing as a dead body. The death can't actually be found because nothing dies. Because there isn't anything alive separately to die. There's survival instinct, of course, but that's just spontaneous, isn't it? You know, we drop out of the way of cars and whatever, you know, stuff like that. Because the sense of self thinks it's alive, it thinks it's going to die. But when it does go, it doesn't die. It never died because it never was real. That's what's revealed. That it was never real. It was never really who I am. And there is no who I am left. There's nothing left. That's why it's uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable listening to a message like this. Sense of self can often squirm about. Yeah. But the wonder is that is life? That is aliveness appearing as a squirming me. All inclusive. How could it not be? It's called non-duality, even though there isn't not any non-duality, because there isn't anything separate. It's the one song. Appearing as many notes, but it's all the same sound. Singing totally harmoniously, because everything is utterly perfect. It can't be any other way. Everything is in its perfect place as the one song. It's amazing. And it's not being looked for, and there's no one looking for it. It's amazing. People are having glimpses of this all the time. All the time, I meet people having these glimpses, long glimpses, and becoming like, yeah, there isn't anything for me. There's no me. It's just another note in the song of aliveness. Yes, Eloise, is the person also this? Yes. Yes, it is. Everything is. There is no this and a me or a person, because that would be duality. And duality is just a concept. It's a concept. How can there be duality? There's the appearance of duality, but it's appearing within the one song. So yes, everything is. There is nothing wrong in any of the appearances. All of it is utterly perfect. Perfect. It's the perfect symphony all the time. Louise, so is me the person sometimes appearing and then not? But it seems here it's not real, but neither is a tree or a little cat. Well, there's no, when there is no person, there's no one to think it's real or not real. It's neither real or not real. It's impossible well, from here, it's impossible for the finger to be put on it as being real or not real. It just is. And when there's no sense of me there, it can feel like there's a sense of non-reality there, but only because that whole kind of construct of what is reality is totally collapsed. You can't, you can't make concepts out of what is, because it's utterly ungraspable. It is neither real or not real. Or it is real and it's not real. We can't say what's real. All there is what's happening. So in the end, it just doesn't matter. No, it doesn't. There's no one in the end. Well, not in the end, no end. When there is no sense of self, it neither matters or doesn't matter. Neither. It's neither of those things. Nothing either matters or doesn't matter. There's a kind of a neutrality in that. There's a kind of an emptiness. There's an emptiness in that. Neither is it meaningful or meaningless. David, I'm having glimpses now, but can't hold on to it long. Yeah. They just pop, they just go pop, pop, pop. But they just can't be held on to. No. What would hold on to it? That would be an illusory sense of self trying to hold on to nothing. Eloise, so is me the person sometimes appearing and then not? Oh, haven't we just answered that? Did I just read that? Oh yeah, sorry. Eloise, it just is. That's nice. Yeah, it just is. It just simply is. And that is absolutely total. Or totality. Nothing could be picked out and excluded from it. Nothing. Even the thought, there must be something else, is part of that totality. That's so beautiful. Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. So beautiful. Yeah. Astounding. Ramona, that's so beautiful. Yeah. All that is what's happening. That's so radical, so beautiful. Such a hell for the sense of self, horror, frustration. Me really wants concepts to hold on to. Yeah. But at the same time, Ramona, that is it too. That is it too. And whatever's happening now with me saying that, that is it too. Whatever thought is on top of that, that's it too. utter totality. Oh, it's great, isn't it? Great. Oh, nearly crying. It's all inclusive. Yes, yes, yes. Because it cannot be any other way. Cannot. I'm going to go in a minute. Is there any last requests from DJ Lisa? Oh, Ramona, I love you too, sweetie. Beautiful. I think it's a good note to end on, actually. All these beautiful comments and people going, yes, 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 yes. Wonderful. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining me on this very spontaneous talk, which I thought was a Wednesday, because I thought it was, I'm doing it after Lisa, the other Lisa. Oh, thank you, David. Thank you, guys. Yeah, it's lovely tonight. It was like, woo, amazing. Okay, thanks, guys, and I'll definitely be here Sunday as usual. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you very much for joining me. And night, and see you soon. Bye.